Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I've got a very special guest. I'm joined by a very, special person in the YouTube industry and someone that I've watched for a very long time, Clive Palmer from the Arsenal Vision podcast. Thank you for coming on my channel today. How are you doing?
Hey, so I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you as well for coming on. I'm really excited to have you on. I think it's going to be really great to chat about Arsenal. It feels like I've not really been chatting about Arsenal recently. I've been doing a lot of Euro stuff. So for me, it feels quite good to chat a bit about that. But before we do, obviously, we know about the sad news, and I have, on my channel recently have spoken about it, but I just wanted you to just tell your thoughts about that, and maybe what if you have a special memory of Kev, or what Kev kind of meant to you.
Yeah, well, I've probably lots of memories. The first set of memories was actually going to see him play. I mean, I would go home and away when he was playing, and I was there in Copenhagen when he played in the final, and he was living out all our dreams. We're a similar age, so literally living out my dream right in front of me. And seeing his career come through the youth team, because we sort of heard about this player scoring lots of goals. We knew he was strong. And there wasn't like so many different information sources that there are today. We didn't have YouTube clips and things like that. We just sort of heard about it.
Yeah.
Then he appeared in the first team, and it was immediate impact. So then he went on to Everton and West Brom. I just thought, normally nice guy, good player, good career, no problem. And then I actually met him, and I did a few podcasts with him, and then met him. And honestly, I know everyone said it, and I'm sure you're going to hear it a million times over. He
Yeah.
is a really, really nice guy. And so here I am talking about my stuff, doing my football knowledgeable stuff. And it suddenly dawned on me that actually this guy's played for Arsenal many, many times, scored many, many goals. But he made me feel like so special, really. And then after that, we kept in touch. So we would like support each other. When we was on TV and I was doing my thing, he would say that was good, that was good. And just kept in touch. And I felt really special. And I realized he was that nice to everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what he's like. And I honestly, he's an example of how to treat people and connect with people. And I just think he's a wonderful example, one I want to follow.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I feel really, really, really sad because it feels too close to home. He's way too young,
Mhm.
way too young. And yeah, it feels really sad.
Yeah, I think the memories you've spoken about. I was watching Talksport when we heard the sad news, and everyone's stories were so special, and it was really nice because Kev made everyone feel so special in their own
Yeah.
way. Like, I obviously, because I'm young, I didn't really get to watch him play, but I learned about him through broadcasting when he was on Sky Sports and when he appeared on Talksport, and then he came on the Highbury squad. And you just, what I loved about him when he's been on other people's shows is you get to see what he's like as a person, because
Yeah.
you felt very close to him, even though he was a footballer, and you wouldn't know that that was his job by you speaking to him. And I think what was so special is that the time he took to go on people's channels, because I remember when he came on my show for one of the first times, like, meant the world to me, and I'm sure he knew that. And it's just really nice that he took the time out to do it, and he was genuinely interested in people as well, which is so
Yeah.
amazing. Because when I spoke to him, he didn't have to ask me questions about me or what, like, who my favourite Arsenal player is growing up and all of those things, but he wanted to. And I think it's, like you said, it's definitely devastating. It is quite weird to process, and it is definitely tough. But I think I feel like, I'm sure you feel this way, but it's so nice to have these memories that we had with him. And I know other people didn't have these memories. And I do feel sad for those that didn't really get to meet him or got to speak to him, because for me, he was just such a special person, wasn't he?
Yep. He was and he is. And yeah, you said it there perfectly well. I feel, yeah, I don't feel, I feel very, very upset about it actually.
Yeah,
And I
it's
know people that know him much better than I, and they're going to be really struggling because he does leave an impact on you. And
yeah,
yeah, I think one of the good things about people in the public eye, you hope they're as nice as what you think they are, particularly when you support them as a football player.
yeah,
But actually, he's got this really nice way about him, and sometimes in this sort of remit where everyone wants to talk and have an opinion, what he's really good at is listening.
Yeah,
And I think that's a really key skill. There's always another game. There's always another day. There's always another week. You haven't got to dominate the mic. Sometimes just by listening, you can learn things. And like I say, he sets an example that I'm not that I try to follow. We're quite similar in personalities, but he is an example of how to be in this media world that we sort of sometimes sit in. So yeah,
yeah.
he's an even bigger hero of mine now. Even bigger hero.
Yeah, me too. I think as well what I loved about him was he was grateful for everything always, and he always said to tell your loved ones that you loved them. And I feel like he left such an incredible legacy by being not only a great footballer for Everton, for Arsenal. I think as well, I've been really proud of how Everton have put the
Yeah,
statements out and said lovely things. It's I don't have that love for Everton, but I think it's really heartwarming to see. So I just
yeah,
wanted to say that as well. But yeah, I think it was just important to start that off on that, and it's great to speak about those good moments because I always say Kev wouldn't want us to be sad. He'd want us to keep doing what we love and what makes us all happy. But I think it's important to keep his legacy on. So I'm really happy
yeah.
to have spoken to you about that, and obviously touched on Arsenal. The fixtures got released, and I feel okay about it. I know we've got Man City in there, we've got Spurs in there, our first games at Wolves at home. But when you saw that, what was your initial thoughts on the first few games that we've got for next season?
Wow. I don't know. So many thoughts actually because when you start to see the fixture list span out in front of you, and then you start to put in the Champions League dates, and then you start to think about the extra two Champions League games in January next year. We haven't factored in the League Cup and the FA Cup yet. You start to realise that these players are literally going to play every 3 4 days. A friend of mine, Scott, did a graphic where after the first international break, I think the first game back is so it's Tottenham or City. I'm not sure which way around. And from that day onwards in September, we play every 3 or 4 days for 4 months. Now, that to me is really ridiculous. The winter break has gone this year, so we're not getting that. Um, they're thinking about putting the African nations in January and pushing it forward from the summer into January. I'm not sure where that's going to fit. And you look at this, and I love football, but there comes a point when you have to ask yourself a question: when is it too much?
Mm.
And I said this yesterday, but we're sitting there watching our Arsenal players and all players from running around in the Euros, and we're enjoying watching them. There's some about to start running around in the Copa America very, very quickly, and we can enjoy watching them. I've got a trip booked to LA in July the 23rd, and the two where we're playing Manchester United in the SoFi Stadium, and I'm thinking the two don't compute, do they? They don't compute. How can we expect those very same players
Mm.
that could easily go to the Euros final, a couple of them, to be available and running around for the Man City and Spurs games in their top form? And I think it's a real concern beyond, not just for Arsenal, but for the game. I think it's a real concern what's actually happening right now.
I do agree because a lot of, if you look at England as well, there's Saka, there's Declan Rice as well. And I think for me, they'll be starters for probably most of the tournament or every game possibly because I look at them and I think they're incredible players. And I just think if one of them gets injured or it's hard for them, if they say England win the Euros, it's hard for them to go from that to playing back at Arsenal. It's probably a
Yeah,
lot to take in as well. I mean, if England did win, the adrenaline would be insane. I mean, there's other players throughout the tournament as well for France, Saliba. So I think for me, I really hope, the players come back well. But I think as well, after they've played all that football, they do need time to switch off a bit, time to have a rest because it is a lot of football to play. And you're coming back to Arsenal where we are expected to win the league. The season's coming ahead and it's going to be a big season for us as well. So I think we've got to come back without, injuries as well because I think Declan Rice and me in that midfield is so important as well. But now that we've seen some of the fixtures, do you feel a bit better that we've got some of the big games early on? I mean, say like a Man City, we're playing them in our first, few games. Do you see it as like it's that game will be out the way, or do you feel like it's come quite early and it might be hard for us to prepare for that game?
I think it's come quite early, but the good thing is that Man City have a similar quality of squad and player, and they'll be playing late in tournaments as well. In some ways, by playing a big team, you end up with a situation where the players are equally overburdened, shall we say, physically and mentally. And so there is that. And when I look at the fixture list as a whole, I'm looking at it thinking, where are the breaks? The only breaks that come are international breaks, and we'll be playing World Cup qualifiers in no time at all. So there won't be too many friendly breaks there. And so, in some ways, the manager may have to manage his players during the international breaks. Last season, we had a situation where the Champions League was so exciting. I managed to go to all of those games at home. I went to Porto away as well, and they're very exciting occasions. This season, it sounds weird now, but we're going to be resting players in the Champions League. I'm sure of it, because there's just too many, right? So we had around 7 or 8 players this year that played under 1,000 minutes, which means they weren't really used. So we have a situation now with the squad. What do we do? Those players deserve a career. They need to be moved on. But then how are they replaced? And then the roles of those players will be significant. We can't just say they're here for the last 10 minutes of a game and maybe to play against the League Cup and against, I'm using them as an example, against Ipswich Town, or last year Sheffield United and Luton Town, for example. They need to play significant minutes. So the quality of those players needs to change.
Yeah.
Because as you said already, so everyone expects us to win the league or come very, very close second. And if we don't, then the mood music changes, doesn't it? The mood very, very quickly, right? So I don't know why I'm so, let's say negative, or cautiously concerned, but it just seemed to dawn on me that this feels very, very, very important to how we plan the season. And I think maybe my original thought about the squad building has been changed once I see that fixture list put out in front of me.
I think it's so tough, like you said, with not having as many breaks as they need, and I think maybe that in the summer would we need to bring more players in as well, because I think as well with like a Saka, if he got injured, then it's hard to find in the team at the moment someone that's quite on his level in that position. And the same with Declan Rice, if Partey leaves as well. There's so many things that we need to figure out for the season, and I think going into the season, I do feel excited. I do miss Arsenal. I love, the Euros to be exciting, but it's not quite Arsenal. And I just feel as though because we've gotten close to the league a few times, I feel like there's a bit more pressure now on Arteta to win something, because I think for me, you can see the progress we've made, and people look at the trophies because, 1 FA Cup, a few Community Shields, and for me, that doesn't represent how well Arteta's done here at Arsenal. So I feel like I'm really grateful for what he's doing, and you can see this, but I just feel like next season, with the league, I would love us to win it, but you do mention as well about having that time as well for League Cups, other competitions, and the Champions League is an amazing, competition to be in, but I even say an FA Cup as well would be so special to win. But going into the season, how do you feel about winning the league? Because Klopp's left, Liverpool have got a new manager as well. Man City are quite tough to compete with, but I think we did really well last season to get that far to Man City.
I think for me, it's the league is the most important thing next year. I just think it's the measure of where you are, and we've done it well. I mean, we've rebuilt the squad. We took people out that were maybe an indicator of the old culture. We took them out, paid them off, moved on, suffered for it. A couple of 8th place finishes and people wondering if we had the right strategy. Brought in a set of young players that people thought we ever paid too much for and weren't that good. Those young players got to 5th, nearly got 4th. Then they got criticised for coming 5th. Then they turned it around and surprised everybody and led the league for 30 plus weeks and came second once. But again, mentally, they were criticised again for falling on the last hurdle. So last season, I felt we really approached the season with a little bit more maturity, and we understood the course. And we ended the season with fantastic form in 2024 in particular, but it wasn't quite enough. But no
Mm.
one can say that we're mentally weak and we're not prepared or we don't understand what we're actually trying to do. And I think even Man City know what we that we are the main competitors to them. So now what happens now? Now we have to go again. So to find the extra 5% that we need is going to need different approach to the players that are coming in. And then what now as fans, we're going to think every single point we drop is going to mean something. So saying to my friend Elliot yesterday, we had a we had the 2-2 draw against Fulham. Remember that one at home last season?
Oh, that was
Yeah,
that was yeah bad. That one,
it,
yeah.
it's bad, isn't it? It's bad. And I can remember podcasting on it saying, "Oh, don't worry about it. The sun's still shining. The clocks haven't gone back." But when you think about it, it's a 2-2 draw. They were down to 10 men, a late corner. We don't quite win it. I'm not saying those 2 points were critical. So I actually think the most critical game was Newcastle away. I think that was the
Yeah.
one that for me was a little bit unfair. And
Mm.
I think the ramifications of that game fed into maybe Villa away. So I think that was a game for me that I felt was unfair that rocked the team losing the first game. So yeah, every point matters. Now I've said those words out loud to you, so every point matters. You're going to do lots of shows next year about draws and how important it is to win every game. And that level of expectation, I think, is too great. It's too great on the same subset of players who we're watching running around in the heat in Germany right now. This is my worry. And
Yeah.
I sound really negative, but I'm a realist and I like to look into the future. This is the real problem that we have. A real problem. And I think we really need to be careful that we manage ourselves as fans to recognize what we're seeing and what pressure these players are under.
Yeah, I think it's so difficult. I mean, that's why I'm not bothered about Ben White not playing for England
No.
because he's, enjoying his life. He's happy. I think that's what's good about that side of it. But I think you make a good point about, the heat and all that minutes they're playing football and the tight schedules we'll have to face when they come back as well. And I think it's going to be tough, but I totally agree with you about the league. For me, I've actually never seen Arsenal win the league, so every season I'm always really wanting it. And we'll like last season, I really thought we were going to do it. Like you said, we looked more mature. We just looked so much stronger mentally, and I just felt like it was really our time to do it. So it is hard, really, but I think the season coming up, I don't think it's going to be easy. But I know the team. When last game of the season against Everton, you could see Odegaard, the captain, Arteta, the players. They wanted to win it. They're hungry for more, and I
Yeah.
think that's what's so special about these players is that yes, they would have been very disappointed with the fact we didn't win it, and I think we deserved to win it. Really, I think we played the best football, really, and we had improved a lot. But I think going into the season, I just feel like the players want to win the league, but I think it depends, doesn't it, on a lot of things, how fit the players are going to be and what sort of players we'll bring in through the summer.
Yeah. I think last season, I remember when the Champions League quarterfinals, semi-finals got drawn, and then you fit those dates into the league run towards the end of the year. Then you start to see what the next 6 to 8 weeks looks like. That was a moment to me. I thought, oh dear, we got to go to Man United, got to go to Spurs, got to go to City, and it's like, okay, can we do it? Well, we basically did, but the problem was we got drawn a tough draw against Bayern Munich in the Champions League, and then
Yeah,
we had the team that finished fourth squeezed in between them, and that was the week we couldn't quite manage. So you have 38 weeks in the season, and there was 1 week Bayern Munich twice, Villa. And I can't look at the team and say you blew it.
mm,
That was a tough set of fixtures. Whereas Man City in between Real Madrid, they had Luton Town. Just that little bit of luck with the scheduling
yeah.
could have made a difference. So Real Madrid home and away, Luton Town in the middle. We had Villa, basically outside a top four team in between, and with a manager who really wanted to hurt us because of the way he was treated by Arsenal. So
That's
these are
what
the
makes it worse.
these are details. Did you watch that game? Do you remember that game? I'm not sure if you do. You go to games,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure.
I watched it on TV. Yeah,
Mm,
that was really. Do you know the Villa game where we lost? It hurt a lot, but I think looking back now, people always speak about the games that we could
mm,
have, we not regret, but which points could we have picked up. I think with Villa, I think like you said, it came at such a difficult time for us, and the Emery wanted to get top four, and that's obviously an amazing achievement. But I think with the Champions League, it was very tough to balance out both with the league. And I think for me, I was upset we got out of the Champions League, but my focus was pretty much the league. I think we
yeah,
really needed to win that, and obviously, it was really hard. I think for me, the Fulham game is the one that I do look at in a way because, I just we shouldn't really be during those type of games. And I think next season, we're not going to win every game, obviously, but I think we need to kind of realise the mistakes we made last season and work on that. But I also feel quite proud because the top teams we used to really struggle with, Man City, Liverpool, and we have done really well to get points off them. And we're also able to compete with them, which is absolutely amazing. And I
yeah,
just feel quite confident with that going into the season. So I just think we've got to be able to beat, the teams a bit lower down, like the promotion teams as well. That won't be easy at all as well.
yeah. I think sometimes we're Arsenal people, right? So we look at Arsenal day and night, and every little detail, every
Yeah.
single player that gives us 7 out of 10 when we expect an 8 out of 10, we're sort of worried about them, and
Yeah.
sometimes we forget maybe that we're better than we realize. And so yesterday, I did a little Twitter space thing for Sky Sports Premier League, and so it's 20 fans. So I represented Arsenal, and basically everyone had like 5 minutes to talk about the season, the fixtures, blah blah blah. And I did my bit, no problem, just a little chat. You know what I'm like, so no worries. Then the other teams came on, and the Man City person came on, and they said, well, "Who's your fixture that you look for first?" Oh no, it's Arsenal straight away. They're our hardest opponents. They really did well against us last year. They beat us, and I'm thinking, oh, that's strange. Speak to a Chelsea person. What's the game you're looking forward to? Well, we've got to play Arsenal. We've got to try and see if we can stop them with the league because they're obviously favourites for the league. And it's sort of like to hear people praising Arsenal and being fearful, quite interesting. Like the Spurs guy came on and he said, well, Arsenal last year, we didn't think the gap was too big, though that it was tough at some points when we were 3-0 down, etc., etc. We got to draw at their place. And he said it in a way where he's quite relieved. And we're there. We may not. I want to say to everybody that we're so focused on our own team and where they need to get better that sometimes we may forget how we're perceived and how
Yeah.
good we are and how other teams fear us. And I think we're going to walk into the league this year with a lot more aura.
Yeah.
Maybe we realise, particularly defensively. I like to see us add to that defensive aura to make sure that Sleeper and Gabriel, who are playing every minute of every game for their clubs and countries,
Yeah.
if we want to sit them down, we can sit them down to maintain that defensive solidity and let people feel we have not got a chance against them. That's where you want to get to because that makes the games much more economical. We're not much less of a basketball game, much more games that we can control in an economical way without expending too much energy. And that's the way to focus on the season when you're playing every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because, for me, growing up last few years, we've sort of been like a banter team. We were the team that, we really struggled against those top teams and
Yeah,
we weren't, we were struggling to get top four. And like you said, to see people look at us like a threat, like knowing that if they played us, it would be tough because I do think as well, Man City, yes, they're amazing and the success they've had is incredible. But the way we play football, I think it's very tough playing up against that because you mentioned Saliba, Gabriel. Like for me, them two at the back. Every game you could predict they're going to give you an 8, 9 out of 10 performance. They're solid, and I think we've got so many consistent players, which is absolutely amazing. And I think it's kind of nice knowing that we're like a threat to people. Like we're
yeah,
actually, we've always been a big club, but I just feel like at the moment we're so difficult to play against because, I think as well, I mentioned about success before, but I also feel like the culture as well, Arteta's, created. I just think, you look at it, the North London Forever song before a game, you see this togetherness about the team, which I felt like was lost, when Wenger left, Emery coming in. I just feel like it's being brought back again, and I just think it's so lovely to have this positive atmosphere around the club, around the fans. And I think as well with Arteta, I felt like he's brought us a lot closer to the players as well. And that, you look at the away games, I'm pretty sure we played, Villa away, and I'm pretty sure, Leno had a incredible game, made some good saves, and you could see, as well, the players, Ramsdale was so happy for him, and I feel like Arteta's really, made them feel that way, which I just feel like really happy about. I know we want trophies, and I think that's so important, but I also feel like what Arteta has built is so much more special.
It is, and so I've been going to watch Arsenal for quite a long time, a long time. So and I said to people, my favourite ever time have been the last 2 seasons,
Yeah,
and I have seen us win the league. I have been in the stadiums we won the league 3 times. I have seen us win in the Cup Winners' Cup final. I've seen us win. I've been to Champions League final live. I've also been to Cup Winners' Cup final. We lost, and, and, and so but I say without hesitation, my favourite times have been the last 2 seasons, and I think you can't beat how you feel when you go to a game or when you watch a game, when you look at your club and you see the place where you feel you belong, and everybody's united on the same page and aligned that what we're trying to achieve. There's no greater feeling to me. If you're lucky to have to meet lots of nice people that love the club that you love along the way, that you can share that journey with. If people can tell me what's better than that, then I can't, right? So the trophy will come at the end. But if you ask, I honestly, this feeling and the culture we have right now, no, I've seen us win, and honestly, it's great. It's great. But when it's done and you're sober up, then what? So
yeah,
it's much more important that all the other aspects of the club are in place. The club are operating in a way that you can respect. Your club are operating with the values that brought you and attracted you to the club in the first place. When you look into the stands, you see lots of young girls like yourself.
yeah,
You see lots of people of colour in the crowds. You see different backgrounds. What's happened with the women's team right now? I've managed to go to a few of those games. If you ever get a chance to go, oh my goodness, it is unique again. It is incredible to go to those games. And you see another community really growing and growing in their love for the club. And so I look at this and I think, well, that didn't happen in '98. This was not all happening. There
yeah,
wasn't the online world. I didn't have hundreds of mates in the US and wherever. Um, and so this is the most special time, and we need to really cherish it. We
yeah,
need to really cherish it. You know, if you'd have said to me 25 years ago about Kevin Campbell, I'd have told you the first half of the story. Now I can tell you the other half of the story when I've met him and got to know him. That would not have happened when I was younger. We would not have felt as connected to people like that around the club.
yeah.
You know, I happen to podcast with Ian Wright now. So Ian Wright, I mean, goodness, what a great guy he is. This would not have happened. It just makes it all feel so much more special. So
Yeah, I think it's so amazing. I mean, I don't get to go to games an awful lot, but when I have been throughout the season, I just feel like, even if we lose, it hurts. But when you're there, the fans are chanting, the fans are so behind the team and the manager, and it feels like such an incredible, surreal feeling as well. Like you said, winning things is what we want to achieve in the long term.
yeah,
And I know the players and the manager want that, but for now, I just feel like it just feels so incredible. And then you mentioned the women's team as well, and the support. There you see at the Emirates as well, selling out crowds. It's amazing to see one club have that much support and positivity around the club, and I think that's what I feel excited about going into next season, because there's been so many games throughout the season that I've enjoyed. I mean, I wanted to ask you about that. I mean, there's so many that I look back on and I love. I think beating Man City was very special because I know we've really struggled to do that. I mean, getting a draw, I would have been content with, but beating them at our place was so special. Battering Chelsea was, probably one of my favourites. It felt good knowing that we got our own back a little bit. But for you, what game or moment do you look back on the season and feel so proud about?
I can't give you one. I don't want to give you about three or four here, right? So funny enough, the one game that I really enjoyed was the Community Shield,
Yeah,
and I just happened to be there and looking at the game, and I realised then that we were quite good, like really good. And I thought, because we've never got close to City really,
mm,
but we were really close to them, and we won the game. And so my belief really rose after that game. Man United game in the end was fun. Two goals at the end was really, really good. And they were down my end, so I was really enjoyed that. The Man City game was a bit of a surprise again. It was a bit of a steady game. Of course, it ended really well, and so that was brilliant. I've had some friends over from the US who really enjoyed that night out, and so that had a really good feeling to it. So yeah, but my real highlight of the season, in a strange way, is probably a game that I wasn't at, but I just liked it, and that was Spurs away. I just loved that game. I loved how we played. I know we messed up. It made it closer than what it was, but we were
yeah,
dominant in that game. And when Saka scored that goal, I just went, "Oh man, this is just perfection. It's just really, really good." And I suppose it was a good feeling to know that we were quite a good side in the really tense moments, and we were 3-0 up in no time at all. And the gap, we deserved to be 3-0 up, and
yeah,
so that was a moment for me that I really enjoyed. But there were many others. I probably missed out Porto as well. It
yeah.
was
So
great.
many special ones.
There's so many, and that's why it's been a great couple of years, right? It's been a great couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd have asked me a few years ago to name, some, games that I've enjoyed, I could tell you one or two, but I could go through all of our games throughout the season.
Oh,
I remember
absolutely.
one that beating Liverpool at our place. I remember that game, and the thing is, beating Liverpool, I just feel like it feels a lot better because I know in recent years, I do feel like a bit they have humiliated us a little bit,
Yeah,
especially Anfield. So I feel like beating them, it just felt extra special. But I think that's
good
what's
shout.
so special about the team. I think as well. I mean, I want to go next season, hopefully trying to go to. I want to give an away game a good chance because I think you can see on the TV, when you watch the games, you can hear how loud the Arsenal fans are. And I think, a few seasons before that, we probably wouldn't, I know people used to say the Emirates was like a library. And you look at it now, I mean, no one will ever say that now about us because
No
it's
chance.
incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. And for a few games, like some of the morning games, sometimes I get down there really early. Like I'm talking like 9 o'clock, say, for a 12:30 kickoff.
I don't blame
And
you.
and and so I think the last one might have been Bournemouth actually. So I had to go for a nice breakfast. When you get there at 9 o'clock, let me tell you, it's crowded. It's very crowded, and you can watch the match day building up, and then have a breakfast and go to pub opens at 10 o'clock. You're thinking there won't be many people around. You're queuing to get into the pub at 10
I
o'clock in the
know,
morning.
yeah, the support is amazing.
And this is what I mean. People can't wait to get there. They can't wait to get there to sort of enjoy the feeling. So whenever I say to people, if you can get a chance to get to one game, just make every effort you can to get to one. If you can't get to a men's game because it's quite hard to get tickets,
Yeah.
try to get to a women's game. Honestly, it's unbelievable. I've played football for years. I've coached football for years, and I went to a couple of the early women's games at the Emirates. But then it started to build,
Mm.
and now it's it's 60,000
Yeah.
in the
So,
ground. I
yeah.
mean, I never thought I'd see that. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I look forward to those almost as much.
Yeah, it was. You know what? It's been really hard as well with the women's team because I remember when we played Wolfsburg at the Emirates, and I'm pretty sure this might have been before the women's Euros, and you would see, 6,000 fans there, and I found it quite sad because in the men's team, if it was like a Champions League game, we know it would be sold out, and I think as well it's really nice to see the women's team being sold out now. I do agree with you. I thought women's football would grow, and I knew also women's would grow, but I never thought it would be quite like this, which I think makes it so special, and I think the club is so special in doing that. And yeah, I think like you said, match days are very special. I mean, whenever I've been to the game, I always have I nip to the Arsenal cafe, and it's so busy, but
Yeah,
it's always worth it. And yeah, I do love a little look in the Arsenal shop, even though it is quite expensive. So I do hope people that haven't experienced it, that might be across the world, do get to one day, because I remember my first game. It was, I felt emotional going to my club I love. It was such an
yeah,
incredible feeling, and I think everyone should experience that one day, because it's just really a surreal feeling, and I think that's what I love about Arsenal. You feel so, as fans, I felt there's so much togetherness about the club, which I think's what makes you feel so much closer to them.
yeah. I agreed, and the game is spreading. So, for example, I know I'm going to LA in the summer, but I know from friends who went last year. I spoke to some of the executives that were there, and they were mixing with the fans and talking to the fans. And last year, this time, 20% of Arsenal's retail revenue was coming from the US. Now that tells you how big we're becoming in the
Yeah,
US, right? So when there's a women's game, so you know the shops around the club, the record days for the shops selling are the women's games, not the men's game.
wow,
So
yeah,
the game is exploding around Arsenal. And this data I've just told you is a year out of date nearly. So what is it like now?
yeah,
So yeah, I just think it's so interesting as the game becomes more globalized. Definitely more globalized, and we know this. And people that listen to us, etc., they don't all live in N5,
yeah,
right? So yeah, again, it just makes it so exciting, and get different people's perspectives and how they see the game, how they want to educate themselves about the game, how they want to experience the game. And what we try to do on our podcast, try to add to people's experience and help them feel a little bit closer to the club if they're far away. If they are close to the ground and go to the games, that we can share the experience, because myself and my mate Tim, and I'm sure you know Tim Stillman,
yeah.
he goes to all the games, he goes to all the women's games. I go to all the men's games and a few women's games. But Tim's been doing that for years, so we give the ground experience, and I think it's important that we try to add that
Yeah.
experience to other people.
I think it's good because, I know a lot of people, some people watch my channel that might not live in the UK. I mean,
Mhm.
I obviously don't go to games as much as other people, but it's so lovely to connect with other people that through social media you might not have met, and it's also really nice when you get to chat to people that do go to games regularly, because it's nice to hear their experiences. Because I remember when I went to my first game, I did not know what to expect. I mean,
Mm.
at the time when Wenger kind of left, we were going through a bit of a negativity time, and then when you go to a game, it's a lot better than what you might think.
Yeah.
It's so amazing, and like you said, I hope everyone can get to a game, but I think it's so hard getting a ticket nowadays. Like you
Yeah.
said, I mean, it's a nightmare getting a ticket. I mean, if you can go to the women's team there, I think it's a lot easier to get tickets. I mean, especially
Yes.
if they play at the Emirates. So yeah, and I hope everyone can definitely experience that, because it's such an amazing feeling. And Clive, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on today, because I've really enjoyed speaking with you. It's been a really lovely conversation to have about the Arsenal community and all of that. I mean, thank you so much for this chat. It's been amazing having you on.
Thanks for asking me. I know I'm hard to get sometimes, but thanks for asking me, and I do appreciate it. And keep doing what you do. I've seen bits of your stuff, and I see your face in different places. So yeah, keep doing what you do.
Thank you so much, Clive. And yeah, I hope all of you that do watch this back do enjoy this. It's been an honour to have Clive on, and hope you guys, do enjoy it. And before we do go, please do hit the like button for me. Do subscribe as well to help my channel grow. But it has been a pleasure having Clive on today, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.
Bye bye.